guys, here I am on the other side of our August 2024 trips. It feels like it took me a long time to share them all, but they are all posted. The trip was a couple months ago now, and it was a great trip. I thought it would be fun to film a trip recap video, kind of podcast style, so it might be one that's good to just put on in the background and just talk about the things we did and how it went. I know during the vlogs, I didn't always have a lot of time to get on the camera and talk and recap and things like that, just because it was so crazy with the little ones. So I thought today I would kind of go through and do that. I'll also be showing a lot of B-roll, so it might also be one that's fun to watch, or like I said, to put on in the background. Okay, so first things first, before we get into the recap, the last couple of videos I've been teasing our next trip. I am going to announce that here. I will say that my husband and I, not the kids this time, just us, are going on a trip in a week from today to Tennessee. And while we're there, the big highlight of the trip is that we're going to be spending 2 days at Dollywood, and I'm so excited. I'm such a Disney girl, but I also just am a amusement park, theme park girl. Like, I would love to just visit as many as I can in my lifetime. We live close to Cedar Point, and we have spent a lot of time there, and we're just big theme park, amusement park people. So we get to check another one off of the bucket list, and I'm super excited. While we're in Tennessee, we will also be doing a couple of other things. We'll be there for, I believe, 4 days. And so we'll be doing some other touristy things. It's also where we had our honeymoon, but we did not go to Dollywood on our honeymoon, so this will be our first time going there. My husband gifted me this trip for my birthday. It is a big birthday, but I will leave it to your imagination which birthday that is. So that's why we're going, but I'm super excited. The thing that I'm most excited about is starting November 1st, Dollywood is doing their Smoky Mountain Christmas event. And there's tons of lights. There are like special stage shows, special food offerings, all for Christmas. And I know we'll be there, I think we'll be there the 8th and the 9th, or the 9th and the 10th, I'm not sure, of November. So it's pretty early, but to me, I'm looking at it as like, okay, this is like our opening to the Christmas season. I'm gonna fully embrace it while we're there. And I feel like it's such a cozy place, like being in Tennessee, to just sort of embrace those Christmas vibes, even if it is a little early. So the next video you'll see will probably be my pack and prep with me for Tennessee. And then after that, I'll be sharing the vlogs of our trip. So I'm so excited. I can't wait to go there, especially this time of year. Okay, now that that is out of the way, I'm gonna start talking about our trip and recapping, doing a little trip report. So if I'm looking down, I have my notes here. I'm gonna try not to look down too much. So our trip was in August of 2024. So it was very hot. We've gone in June many times, but this was our first time going in August. I wouldn't say it was hotter than June, but it definitely wasn't cooler than June. It was about the same, but which is to say miserably hot. But we're kind of used to it. We've been there enough times. It wasn't great, but it rained enough times and that cooled it down that it wasn't like horrible all the time. So our itinerary was that we did 1 day at Universal, 4 days at Disney, and then like a rest day in the middle. And we did 1 night at Cabana Bay Resort, and then the rest of the trip we were at Pop Century. And I'm gonna talk about my thoughts about Pop Century. I'm gonna just save that to talk about at the end. So we'll go right into kind of the trip recap now. Okay, so travel day. In the past, we have gotten up super early, like for like a 7 or 8 o'clock flight out of Pittsburgh. But when you do that, you have to get to the airport by like 5, and then you have to include like the 1.5-hour drive that we have from our house. It ends up being miserable, and this trip we finally got smart and decided, let's just get there like the night before, sleep in a hotel there, get a good night's sleep, and then be fresh for our first full day of our trip. And I really preferred that. So it was a little more expensive because we had to pay for, actually we didn't have to pay for the hotel because that was the night we stayed at or at a Universal resort, which was Cabana Bay, and we used credit card points to pay for that. So it wasn't really more expensive, but it would be if you didn't have those credit card points. But it was so much nicer to not be just completely exhausted and not to have to wake our kids up in the middle of the night to go. So I think in the future, I would prefer doing it this way. So I think we were able to leave our house around 9 a.m. We still got to the airport probably way earlier than we needed to, but we like to be careful and be on that end of things rather than cutting it close. So we did have to kind of entertain our toddler and our baby. If you're not familiar, we have a 10-month-old now. He was 8 months at the time of the trip, a 2.5, almost 3-year-old now, and an 11-year-old. So lots of different ages and needs there. So yeah, we were at the airport for a while. We ate our lunch and had a lot of time to kill. We did do TSA pre-check for the first time. We had never done that before. I believe it was $75 for my husband and I to do it, like a piece. It was $75. But I think it's good for 5 years and your kids are included with you. So we did like that. It seemed to go really fast and smooth. So I'm glad we did that. But that even made us more early. We flew Southwest, which we typically do. And the reason we like to fly Southwest is because you do get 2 free checked bags per person, which I think is amazing. So we usually just do it that way. I don't like trying to get all my stuff in a carry-on, and I don't even think it's possible with 3 kids. So we like doing that. The only thing with Southwest, if you're not familiar, is that they do not have assigned seats, but they do have family boarding. So they have like boarding group A, B, and C, I believe. But families with kids ages 6 and under get to board between the A and the B group. But we also had our mother-in-law with us. She was not able to board with us. So that was kind of tricky. We had to like try to save a seat for her. I think I heard that they are doing away with that in the future so that they will be doing assigned seats. And I would be happy about that change, I think. This past trip, it was a little bit hard. Luke and I couldn't get seats, like we needed 2 rows, and on the way home we couldn't get seats like across from each other, which made it really hard having the baby, and we weren't able to like pass him back and forth or anything. So yeah, anyway, that'll be a nice change in the future. But other than that, we love Southwest. There's always direct flights we like to fly out of Pittsburgh. There's always direct flights from Pittsburgh to Orlando, and it's only like a 2.5-hour flight. So I don't think that's bad at all. Our kids did really well on the flight. Scarlett's used to flying, but Emma my 2-year-old hadn't flown since she was like a little baby. She didn't really remember it. So this is probably her first flight that she will remember, but she did really well. She watched a lot of Mickey shorts on her iPad, and she was totally fine. She's pretty good, able to like sit still for a long time. So that wasn't too bad. The baby, we had to kind of pass him around a lot and try to entertain him, but he wasn't too difficult either. He was pretty entertained just by like looking out the window. So I feel like that went really well. The flight went really well. It could have gone very badly, but thankfully it went really well. We did rent a vehicle. We often do, just because we think it's the fastest and most efficient way to get around. We've done just using like the buses and the Skyliner and stuff before instead of renting a car, which totally works too. But the one trip we rented a car, we realized how convenient it was to be able to not have to wait for the bus, and especially like at the end of the night at Magic Kingdom or any of the parks. So we typically do rent a car. A lot of times we're able to use credit card points to pay for that too. So that is another tip. And then our first night we were kind of doing Universal first to build up to Disney. I wouldn't want to do it the other way around because I feel like Universal would feel like more of a letdown. So we did our first night at Cabana Bay. I didn't really do much research or know what to expect. So it was really fun getting there. And I mean, I knew the theme, which is kind of like mid-century modern, super cute. So, but I didn't know too much about it. So we got there and like, I just really like the vibes. It's just super fun. It was you can't do online check-in like you can at Disney. I think you can, but you still have to go to the front desk. At Disney, you can do online check-in and just go straight to your room. But we didn't have to wait in a line or anything. It was a really quick process. We got all checked in, and then we got our room, which was really close to the elevator. I feel like we got super lucky. I think some of the rooms have doors that are like outside face, like you have to walk outside to get to them, but ours was inside. So that was kind of nice. I liked that too, especially being a value resort. That was kind of different from what we're used to at Disney, and I really liked it. So we got off the elevator and just like our room's like right there. It was super nice. So we went in, we loved the room. The theme, like I said, was just so much fun. And we had a view of the parking lot, but we could also kind of see a little bit of Volcano Bay. So that was fun. So we were really hungry. So we went to Bayliner Diner, which basically is just a big food court. It's super fun. It's really fun. There's these big TVs that are showing like retro videos and stuff on them, and it's just super cute, super fun. The food was not anything like to write home about. We just had, I think we got Alfredo and pizza, and we all kind of just shared it. My daughters love Alfredo, but yeah, it was fine. It was nothing bad, but just not like the best food. It wasn't our favorite meal of the trip, but it was fine. And then after that, we went to the pool. There are two pools. I believe one of them has a lazy river and it's a little more laid back. The other one is the one that we went to. There was a little splash pad, which my kids loved so much. And then like a really big pool and a slide. So really fun pool. It was loud and crazy, but I mean, we kind of expected that. We started out at the splash pad and there was nobody else in the splash pad. It was like just my kids. And it was like that feeling when you know you're at the beginning of a vacation and you have the whole trip ahead of you and you're just so excited about it. I feel like we were all kind of feeling those feelings, and just the kids were loving the splash pads and everyone was so happy. I feel like that first night was a highlight of the trip. Even TJ, he loves splash pads. He loves water, so he had a lot of fun with that. We spent a lot of time at the pool until it was after dark, and then there was all these fun lights and there was a movie under the stars. Just really fun. I really liked Cabana Bay, like the pool and the whole experience. I would definitely stay there again. I thought it was a great value, especially since we got to stay there for free, but even if we had to pay, I think I would have really liked it. So yeah, it was a great first night. We kind of turned in a little bit early because we knew we had a big day at Universal the next day. Okay, so it was our Universal day then. We had to get up and get like everything out of our room before 7:30 because we weren't going to be coming back there. We were going to Pop Century later that evening. So that was kind of tricky to get everything packed up into the vehicle, and but we did take the bus. We were able to leave our car there and we took the bus to Universal. We got there super early. I feel like it wasn't that busy when we first got there, but one of our main priorities was to ride Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure. We did have Express Pass, but that ride does not take Express Pass. You have to wait in the standby line. So we went there first, which I've heard is not the best idea because everybody goes there first, but then it's like, when else are we gonna go? And we might as well wait at 8 o'clock in this super long line rather than like 1 o'clock when it's a lot hotter. So we got in line. People, like our kids, I mean, were quickly getting bored, and yeah, they weren't gonna ride it. Even my oldest daughter didn't want to ride it. She's getting into thrill rides, but she's a little cautious about what she wants to ride still. So anyway, we all had to wait in the line. We waited at like 30 or 40 minutes, and then all of a sudden they evacuated like the building, and they said it was a fire drill. So everybody had to leave. And oh, I forgot to mention, since we had stayed at Universal Resort, we were able to get in like a half hour earlier than the rest of the public to, you know, get a head start on getting in line and stuff. So we had waited in there and completely wasted our early entry, and we didn't get to ride anything early. And it was just hard because we wanted to come back later, but later we weren't close to Hagrid's again, and by that time we were tired and hot, and our kids didn't want to wait in a long line, so we never ended up getting to ride that ride. So it was really a bummer, not a good way to start the day, a little frustrating. So Universal was not starting out on a good foot. So after that, Flight of the Hippogriff is like right there, really close to Hagrid's. So we decided to do that. There wasn't a long line, and we had Express Pass anyway. With the type of Express Pass we had, you can only ride everything once though. So we did Hagrid's with my oldest daughter, or I think I stayed with the kids and everybody else rode, or the little kids. And Scarlett really loved that one. It's a quick ride, but there was never a long line. We ended up riding it 2 or 3 more times that day just because it was always a 5-minute line, and Scarlett loved it so much. So that was an unexpected fun time for her. Oh, and then we headed into the Jurassic Park area, and we did Velocicoaster next, which was another one of our top priorities. We did Child Swap, which is completely different than how Disney does it. At Disney, one group goes and rides while the other group goes and does whatever they want. At Universal, the first group rides while the rest of your party waits in this waiting room. And it was a really nice air-conditioned room. I will say some of them are nicer than others, depending on the ride. But the one for Velocicoaster was huge, and there was like a changing table, and they were playing a movie, and there was a water fountain and benches, and it was nice, but Velocicoaster broke down when the first group was waiting, which I was not in the first group. I was waiting with the kids first. So that was really frustrating after Hagrid's too. Luckily, it was only shut down for like 15 or 20 minutes, and then it opened back up. So Luke and my mother-in-law rode it, and then we switched, and Luke and I got to ride it. When you do rider switch or rider swap, whatever they call it at Universal, up to I think 5 or 6 people can ride again. So that's kind of a perk over Disney too, but we only had 3 adults with us, so just Luke and I rode the next time. But that ride was incredible. It was so scary, and I go to Cedar Point all the time, and they have some of the tallest roller coasters in the world, but Velocicoaster still scared me. So yeah, it was pretty intense, but it was amazing. I loved it. So yeah, we had finally gotten to that point, and it was already almost like lunchtime, and it felt like we really hadn't accomplished much yet. So then the rest of the day, we did a lot of rides that only the adults and my oldest daughter could do. So I'm just gonna look at my list here and read through them. So we did, we did Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. My daughter did not like, she thought that one was a little bit intense. She didn't like that one. We did Escape from Gringotts. Scarlett liked that one a whole lot more, which is funny because I think that one's more intense, but she liked that one better. She did the Troller Coaster. I stayed with the little ones while she did that, but she liked that. We did the E.T. ride, which my youngest daughter could do. We still had to do Child Swap because of the baby, but my 2-year-old was tall enough to do it, and she loved that ride. That was her favorite thing of the day. And then the only ride that we could all ride was the carousel, which is kind of lame. And then everybody that was tall enough rode the Cat in the Hat ride, except for me because I stayed with the kids. But my 2-year-old was not tall enough to ride the Cat in the Hat ride, which I'm still a little bit like, why do they have rides in the Dr. Seuss section that have height requirements? I think there's 2 rides in the Dr. Seuss section that have height requirements. I feel like Universal needs to change that. There's hardly anything for little kids anyway, but when you make this land specifically for little kids, why are you making height requirements so the toddlers can't even ride the Dr. Seuss rides? So that was frustrating. She was pretty bummed because we went and got her measured, and she was like this much too short for it, but it's okay. We'll know for next time, but that was frustrating. So we didn't ride a lot. We didn't ride a lot of like the really super fun ones. Like I love the Mummy ride. We weren't able to ride that. Because we were doing Child Swap, it takes twice as long to ride everything because both groups have to ride. So we realized that really ate up a lot of our day. Oh, and we did do the train, the Hogwarts Express from park to park. So I guess everybody was able to ride that one too. So we didn't ride a ton. We all had fun, but it was just a little bit of a letdown of a day, which honestly I thought going into it, we'll try this and it might be bad because we have little kids, and it kind of was. So we know for next time we won't do that again. We won't bring our little ones again, but we thought we would just try it and see how it goes. Oh my goodness, I feel like this Universal Day is taking forever, but it was new to us and I just have a lot of thoughts about it. So I don't think the rest of the trip is gonna be this detailed. But let me look at my notes here. Okay, so speaking of toddlers at Universal, like I said, I would not do it again. There were a few things that like were fun for Emma. So she really liked, there's like this Dr. Seuss play area. There's different slides and all kinds of interactive things. There was a little tunnel and a splash pad. She liked the splash pad part the most. She had a lot of fun there, although a lot of it was like too hot in the middle of that sunny hot day in August to do, but the splash pad part, she loved it. We had a hard time getting her to leave that. She also loved the Jurassic Park Discovery Center. She loves dinosaurs. She was actually just a dinosaur for Halloween. It's super cute, but so she enjoyed that a lot. We spent a lot of time in there for her. And then DreamWorks Land, unfortunately, we didn't make our way over to DreamWorks Land until much later in the afternoon, and we were all just so hot and tired. I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface of what DreamWorks Land has to offer, but everyone was just kind of done. We were paying attention to our kids' cues, and we knew if we didn't get out of there, it wasn't going to end well. So we spent a little bit of time in DreamWorks Land. Like I said, my oldest daughter rode the roller coaster, and we did the Shrek play area, or at least the splash pad part. And then we decided we've had enough, let's get going. So our Universal Day wasn't the greatest, but it's okay. I think it's our fault for bringing toddlers, and that's okay. I definitely would love to go to Universal again. This isn't like making me hate Universal forever, but it's just not for toddlers. It's just not. So if we could ever go when either the little ones are a lot older, or if we could just go with my husband and myself and our 11-year-old, that would be great. But just didn't work well with little ones. Okay, so we got done in the early evening, or late afternoon, I would say, at Universal, and we headed to Pop Century. And I was so excited to get into that Disney bubble because it's familiar to us, and, you know, like Universal is not. So we went to Pop Century and we rested a little bit. Then we grabbed dinner at Everything Pop. We actually ate there a lot. They were refurbishing the like food court area. So it was hard to judge it, but we really we ordered a pizza one night, which was fine. I think that first night. And then, there was this beef and vegetable stir fry that was really good. And then the sesame chicken was really good. We ordered those multiple times. We really liked that food. And then we hung out for a while in the Everything Pop gift shop, which we really liked. The gift shop, there was a really good variety of different things there. There was a ton of Toy Story stuff there, which is Emma's, my 2-year-old's, very favorite thing in the world. So we had a lot of fun exploring there, and then we got back to our room early, went to bed, so we'd be ready for our first Disney day the next day. Okay, so for our first Disney day, we went to Epcot. Hopefully this will be quicker than my Universal Day, just because I feel like I don't have as many opinions. Epcot is not new to us or anything, but I'm just gonna read through our kind of what we hit up. We did a lot of rides in the morning, and then in the evening we did a rest time, and then we kind of chilled a little more in the evening. So the first thing we did was we rope dropped Nemo, which is kind of a funny choice, but it's close to the entrance, and we wanted something that everybody could ride because there were so many rides the day before that the little ones weren't allowed to ride, and we didn't want them to get bored and just feel like they were waiting around all day again. So we wanted to make sure we were really involving the two little ones more. So Nemo was a great ride to ride first. We always go through the aquarium a little bit afterwards. I always think that's super fun. So we did that. Then we did Soarin', which is my oldest daughter's favorite in Epcot. That's always a good one. Then we headed over to the Frozen ride, and I feel like it wasn't that busy yet. We were getting through these things pretty quickly. We did do the multi-lane, whatever it's called, what is it even called now? Lightning Lane Multi-Pass. We did that this day, so we didn't have to wait in any long lines or anything. Then we met Elsa and Anna, which was so funny because I wasn't sure how my 2-year-old was going to react to the characters. She's funny. She's very she doesn't talk a lot to strangers, which I guess is a good thing. She doesn't talk a lot to people she doesn't know, but when you get to know her, she's the most like wild, crazy, excited, like just passionate for life person in the world, but you don't always see that on the surface. And I feel like with the character, she kind of just shut down and she didn't know what to do. She was scared to get close to them, even like the princesses. So we knew after that first interaction, like we probably don't need to push Emma to meet too many of the characters. Whereas my oldest daughter, that was always her favorite thing, which is funny because she is more shy and timid normally, but she's not with the characters, or she even back then she wasn't. So it's just kind of different. You just have to take your kids' cues and figure out, what's best for them. So characters we knew were not going to be a big thing for Emma this trip. After we met Anna and Elsa, it was time to ride Guardians of the Galaxy, which is my favorite ride in Disney. And Luke said that he liked Velocicoaster better, but I still hold true to the fact that I think Guardians of the Galaxy is better because I just feel like I just like it. I feel like there's more theming, there's more humor, it's funny. I don't know. I like that one better, but to each their own. Let me know which one you think is better. And then we grabbed some fish and chips on the way to the Skyliner. And then we decided to do our rest time, which I think was very good. We should have done a rest time every day and we didn't, and that was our mistake. Then once we came back for the evening, all refreshed and rested, we didn't push to do as many rides in the evening. We just kind of wanted to explore and, see what we felt like doing, which is why Epcot is my favorite park. I feel like there's so much just interactive stuff to do that you don't have to wait in a line for. There's just little fun things like around every corner. So the first thing we headed for was Moana, Journey of Water. And I've heard such mixed reviews about this, but my kids loved it. It was probably one of their favorite things this trip. Part of it, I'm sure, is because it was new and novel, but they just loved it. We could have stayed there all night, and we almost did, I feel like, because we ended up coming back later after dark. But I thought it was so cute. You didn't really have to wait in a line for anything. Maybe we were there when it wasn't too busy. But you could just kind of play and spend as much time as you wanted in the different areas. And my 2-year-old just thought it was magical, and Scarlett thought it was really fun too. You could stay as dry or get as wet as you want to. I loved it. No notes. I thought it was great. I've heard other people give very different reviews, but for us, the night we were there, it was awesome. And with the ages that our kids are, it was awesome. Then we did Spaceship Earth, which is always a classic. And after that, my kids loved the little play area, like outside of Spaceship Earth. There's all kinds of different activities you can do. So, I feel like they're like a little bit outdated maybe, but Scarlett and Emma loved them. So we spent a lot of time in there. And then we knew it was our last chance to meet Mickey. And we knew we wanted to meet Mickey at Epcot because he has kind of his traditional outfit on. You can meet Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy there. So it was a long line. Character lines oftentimes they seem slow because you're not constantly moving. There's a lot of stop and go. And there's not usually lightning lanes for character meet and greet. So it was kind of a long line, but it was so worth it. And I thought Emma was gonna love the characters, but she, like I said earlier, she was scared. She wanted me to carry her up. But TJ, our, like, at the time 8-month-old, loved the character so much, especially Goofy. And I didn't get a lot of videos of it because I was just trying to enjoy the moment, but he was just interacting and playing and laughing and squealing, and he loved Goofy so much. That was the highlight of the trip too. Loved meeting all 3 characters, but especially Goofy. And then it was almost the end of the night and my kids wanted to see Journey of Water again after dark. So we ended up heading back there and just playing for the rest of the evening. Then we came back to the hotel and we did dinner again at Everything Pop. So we didn't focus a lot on food this trip, which I feel like we almost didn't eat enough. Like we would forget to eat because we get so busy doing things. So don't be like us, especially when you have little kids. But yeah, we ended up doing a really late night dinner and I loved our Epcot day. This was probably one of the best days of the trip. Loved it so much. Okay, I think I have decided I am gonna make this a 2-part video because I just talk so much. So I'm gonna wrap up our Hollywood Studios day, post this video, and then I will do a second half with the second half of our trip because number 1, I have to go pick up my daughter from school pretty soon. And number 2, I don't want this video to be an hour long. So that's how we're gonna do it. But so now I'm gonna talk about our Hollywood Studios day, which this day, before we even get into it, I'm just gonna say we pushed it way too hard this day. We didn't take a rest. We went from before rope drop, like we went from early entry until after the late Fantasmic show, and that was stupid. We shouldn't have done that. But we got caught up in the excitement and we got caught up in trying to do everything, and you can't do everything. And we know that, and we just got blinded by being in the Disney bubble and we tried to do it anyway. But it was still a really fun day. It was just so long and tiring. So we started the day. We did not want to buy the individual lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance, but it is one of our favorite rides. So we headed straight there first thing. I think the line was only 30 or 40 minutes first thing in the morning, which really isn't too bad. I volunteered to stay back with the 2 little ones first because they are not tall enough to ride Rise of the Resistance. And it ended up being like a full hour because the ride, it's like the 30 to 40 minute wait, plus it just takes a long time to ride it because there's like multiple pre-shows. The ride itself is pretty long. So that first hour, there wasn't much else open. We kind of walked through Star Wars Land. Nothing was really open, but it was fun because it was empty. Then we went and hung out by the like Miss Piggy fountain in the like the Muppets area. I didn't really want to do like a ride, and I didn't want to go to Toy Story Land yet because I wanted my husband to see Emma's reaction to it. So we were kind of just stuck. That first hour was a little bit boring, but it's okay. The rest of the day was pretty packed with stuff. So after the first group rode, we passed off the little ones to my mother-in-law, and then Luke and I rode Rise of the Resistance again, which is always amazing, mind-blowing, one of the best rides ever. And then we had a Ronto wrap for breakfast, which was pretty good. And then we met the rest of the family at Toy Story Land, and they ate at Woody's Lunchbox, which Disney needs to get. I don't know if there's room. It might be kind of landlocked, but I just wish there was more shade in that area, and I wish there were more tables because we had to wait forever for a table, and the one we ended up getting was in the sun, and it was just right at that time when it was getting really hot. So the moods, as the heat goes up, the moods go down. So everyone was kind of just not in the greatest mood. And the food was good though. I mean, I've eaten there before. My kids liked the food. So then after that, we decided we need to meet Buzz because he's Emma's favorite, and he only meets like during certain times, and you really have to watch those times because the day can get away from you. Sometimes it's good to try to get those characters out of the way early because you might forget or run out of time later. So we wanted to make sure we did that. So we got in line. It was kind of shaded. It was outside, but it was really hot, and it's a long time in those character lines because they'll start meeting and then they can only stay out for so long. So the character will go back and take a little break and then come back, and it just ends up making your wait be really long. So that happened. But we finally got to meet Buzz. Emma basically froze up again, but it was cute. We got some cute pictures. I told Buzz that he was her hero because she was not able to speak herself. She was too starstruck, I think. But she held his hand and took a little picture with him, and he really seemed to like play it up because, I mean, she was wearing a Buzz Lightyear dress. It was obvious that she loves Buzz, but yeah, it was just those character interactions were just funny this trip. So after that, everyone desperately needed some air conditioning. So we did the Frozen show. That show is super cute and funny, and we do it every trip, but it's also just nice to sit down and rest your feet. But when we got out of that show, it was totally sunny and hot when we went in. When we came out, it was about to storm. So that can happen anytime in the summer in Florida. Luckily, it's usually short-lived, and this day it was. But we went into you can go in this little theater and see some Mickey shorts, or a Mickey short, which Emma also loves Mickey shorts. We watch them all the time. So she was excited about that. It was somewhere to go while it was raining. Slinky Dog was closed, which this was the time when we were supposed to ride it. So we hadn't really, I feel like we hadn't ridden much yet at this point in the day. Since it was still raining, we went to One Man's Dream, which is like a really cool, kind of like a museum about Walt Disney and the company. I really love it. Surprisingly, I thought my kids would be bored by it, but they thought it was pretty interesting too. Then Scarlett met the live action Ariel character, which is also in that building. Emma was kind of half asleep at that point, so she didn't go up to meet her too. But then it was time for our Roundup Rodeo barbecue reservation. We were really excited to eat here because of Emma's love for Toy Story. But we got there, our time passed, and it was like 20 or 30 minutes past our reservation time, and there were just tons of people outside waiting. They were telling people that they were super behind. And luckily it wasn't too long of a wait. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it is kind of like frustrating when you've booked this ahead of time and you think it's going to be at that time, and it isn't always. So it took like probably almost an hour to eat there, plus tack on that extra half hour that we waited to even get inside the building. It ends up eating up a big chunk of your day. The atmosphere was super cute. Emma really liked it. I think it was very overstimulating. I like when it's like a sit-down restaurant, I like to go into places that are a little more quiet and calm, just because just to give yourself a little sensory break. But this was not a sensory break. This was like the opposite of that. But it is what it is. I mean, we knew that's what it was going to be going in, and Emma loved it. I would say the food is so-so. It wasn't the best food I've ever had at Disney, definitely. It wasn't bad, but it was nothing to write home about. So I don't know, if Emma hadn't been a big Toy Story fan, I would say probably skip it. But if you have a kid that is a big Toy Story fan, then I think you should probably eat there, just because there are so many fun details in there. Okay, so then we continued our day in Toy Story Land. We spent so much time in Toy Story Land. We did Toy Story Mania, which I always think is just one of the best rides. It never gets old. I love it so much. Then we did Alien Swirling Saucers, and Emma was tall enough for that one, so that was exciting. She liked it a lot. Then we did Slinky Dog. That is Scarlett's absolute favorite ride. She really liked it. She got to ride it twice with Rider Swap. Then we headed to Tower of Terror and did that one. We were able to get both babies asleep around this time, so that was a good one to ride while they were sleeping, and we did the whole rider swap thing. That's one of my favorites. Even though it's older, I love it so much. And then we headed to Muppets. See, we just like packed everything in the afternoon. Like I said, we went too hard, but Muppets is kind of a funny choice, I guess, but there's not a lot for little kids at Hollywood Studios, other than some of the shows. And even though this is a show, I guess, but we thought everybody would be able to do this one and have fun. And we're a little bit afraid that they're going to get rid of it when they bring all the new stuff to Hollywood Studios that is coming. They haven't announced yet what is going to go away, what it's taking the place of, but we're afraid it's going to be Muppets. So we wanted to make sure we did that one more time. And I feel like that one is so underrated. I love that 3D show. There's so many like practical effect things that happen too. It's super cute. If you've never done it, don't skip it. It's super cute. You have to do it at least once. And I remember it from when I was little too. So I think I like it a little bit because of nostalgia too, but it was fun to do that one. Then we were supposed to do Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway, but it was closed, and we kept checking throughout the night and it kept saying it was closed, and we were so bummed because we so wanted Emma to ride it. But we ended up doing Star Tours because there wasn't a long line, and Scarlett really likes that one, so that was fun, and Luke because he's a huge Star Wars nerd. And then after that, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opened, and it only opened for a little while, but we were able to jump in and get it ridden before it closed again. So I was so happy that Emma got to ride that one. She really liked it. That one is surprisingly a great ride. I think, like, I wasn't expecting that much out of it the first time I rode it, but it's a really good ride. And then we ate dinner at Catalina Eddie's because at this point we didn't realize it, but all the good places, which there's not much good quick service in Hollywood Studios, all the good places were open. So we got pizza and like a salad, and it wasn't very good, but we ate that. It was like our only choice at that point. And then we did Fantasmic. If you saw my vlog, I said I will never do Fantasmic again. And that was because it was literally scary getting into the like arena, whatever you want to call it, the theater area. It was scary. We've done it once before, and I remember it was a pain, but I don't remember that it was actually scary. But we dropped our stroller off, which the cast members were very, I know they have to be, but they were like barking at us about the strollers, like not very like Disney magical at that time. And I understand they probably put up with a lot, but, so we put our stroller back, and then we had to be like carrying the two little ones, and there were just so many people crowding in. And it, like, once you got into the theater area, it was just like, I mean, so squished, like worse than Happily Ever After. And it was scary getting to our seats, and my family was all mad at me because I was the one that like made everyone go to Fantasmic. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like I didn't remember it being this bad, and I promise it's an amazing show. And it was, and everybody loved the show. Our kids loved the show, and getting out of the theater was crowded, but it wasn't scary crowded like it was getting in. But the show's amazing, but I've seen it a couple times now. I think I'm good. Like, I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to go through that like squished feeling especially with little kids. So let me know what you think. Is that an unpopular opinion? I don't know, but it is my opinion, and I probably will not be doing Fantasmic again, especially my husband. My husband really was not liking that situation, so I don't think I will ever be able to drag him back in either. But that was the end of our Hollywood Studios day. We didn't get back to our room until like 11:30, but luckily the next day was our rest day. So I'm gonna stop here for this vlog, and I will share the rest of this video, and I will share the rest of our trip in our next video. So leave a comment down below if you have had any experiences similar to ours, or if you saw things totally differently. Let me know what you think about bringing little kids to Universal, and if we were just totally crazy for even trying that. But thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you tune in for part 2, and make sure you subscribe so you can find out whenever I post another video.